And with that, we now move forward to our next session, which is a discussion on physical security, cause of concern. To have their inputs to the session, we have with us Major Ajit Kulkarni, who is the Associate Director, Safety and Security at IDFC Bank. I would request all of you to please put your hands together and welcome on stage Major Ajit Kulkarni. We're also joined by Brigadier J. Kurian, who is the Deputy General Manager and Chief Officer of Security at the State Bank of India. Let's put our hands together and welcome Brigadier Kurian. We're also joined by Captain Rakesh Patni, the AGM, Chief Security Officer, Bank of India. Let's put our hands together and welcome Captain Patni. Also on the session, we have with us Mr. Som Gangopadhyay, who is the Deputy Managing Director and Executive Director, Sales and Marketing at Ganebo India. Let's put our hands together. Welcome, Mr. Gangopadhyay. On the session, we also have inputs by Captain Sanjay Joshi, who is the Deputy General Manager and Chief Security Officer at the Bank of Baroda. Can we give it a round of applause and welcome Captain Joshi? And our session is going to be moderated by Mr. K.P. Raghuvanshi, who is the Security Advisor at the Reserve Bank of India. Let's put our hands together and welcome Mr. K.P. Raghuvanshi.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hello. Can you hear? Good afternoon, everybody. I know that earlier session got delayed after lunch, and I could see that lunch was also laid down, and you all of you must be now little tired also. I'm K.P. Raghuvanshi. I retired as DG Maharashtra. Before that, I have worked in various capacities in police. Security per se has not been my subject, but since being a cop, you are always dealing with various aspects of security at large and in generally speaking. When you think of security, when you talk of security for a layman, security, immediately one thing comes to your mind that somebody in uniform, maybe whatever may be the color, he is being referred. Even you enter into any office, even enter into building, society, security. Somebody is standing in some uniform, whatever may be the color, white, green, blue, khaki or military color. And that is how people have been having a person or many person in the form of security. That is how security thing starts. And it has been serving purpose also for not now, earlier also, and now also the significance of that man in a uniform cannot be minimized or cannot be overlooked. But over the period of time, the challenges have increased. Now earlier, it was generally a watch and ward kind of job. Things are becoming complicated. Threats are coming from unheard, unthinkable corners, maybe Maoist, maybe terrorist, or the threats are coming to your working, maybe from competitor also, because during our investigation we have seen various things happening. So our response and challenge has to be according to the threat and according to the risk. I don't think this any time could have been better than this time when particularly banking industry has been put to test. And in last 40-45 days, all the banks, including Reserve Bank, they have done wonderful job, and there has not been any major security concern except maybe aberrations by the people, not by the system. People have failed us, not the system. So therefore, the system are at place. But since the responsibility of bank and banking system is so large, there is a need to rededicate, rethink about the security and the challenges which are there and unforeseen challenges which are likely to come. To cover this topic today, we are blessed that we are having such an experienced, rich panel before us. Without taking much of the time, as it is already delayed, I would start with one. I would request my colleague, don't take much of the time except 5 minutes, because perhaps the people would be more keen to ask questions whatever is heard by you, whatever is spoken by us, it has to be discussed and it has to be grasped. You might agree, might not agree with the views expressed by us, but you have the right and you have the reason to ask, then please ask. So I will request Captain Joshi. He will speak about the physical security aspect about the branches and ATM. So Captain Joshi, please, mic is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Raghuvanshi. It's really an honor to sit with you, such a decorated police officer, and to share the dais with my colleagues here who have got a vast experience in banking and also in the manufacturing of one of the best products that is available there. I would say one thing, sir. Security is basically a function of management. And we are part of that management, and we have to see as to what are the problem areas and what are the gray areas. To begin with, I say the branches. In the branches, what has happened is in the 80s, early 80s to 90s, our branches were expanded very rapidly, particularly in the rural areas. Most of the banks, nationalized banks, have got about 60% plus branches are in the rural areas, which in the scope of expansion, the premises were compromised. That was one thing where one of the things that is there in the branch that is happening is some of the premises which are of the old time, particularly in the rural areas, they are not of the best as far as the security aspect is concerned, but they were needed for the purpose of the services. So that was one thing. Then in the last 10 years or so, the cash accumulation at the branches has increased tremendously. Like the government themselves have admitted this time that 86% of the circulation of 500 and 1,000. So there is a very large quantum of cash holding that is increased at the branches. These are which are the biggest thing that the premises not so good and cash accumulation. And top of that, the equipments which have been installed in the branches are now they are different phase. What they were earlier 5 years was in a different state. So the quality, serviceability of these equipments are something which is not up to the desired level. But yes, every bank is going on improving. I am talking of all the banks. I am not talking for my own bank alone. We are going in for improving our technological advancement. So these three aspects which are major things. One is the premises, second is the cash holding, third is the technology which is not very up to the mark. So hence the branches have got some different set of problem. And ATMs is one of the most lucrative and a soft target. Why are they soft target? Again, like branches, the expansion of the ATM has been very, very, very fast. The ATMs have been opened at every nook and corner. There is a very poor aspect of caretaker who is there, who is doing paid very meagerly, and it has got an ample amount of cash, which is adding a different dimension. So you would have seen the number of ATMs which have been lifted in the recent past has increased. The ATM service providers are having their own solutions, but they are not working full time to safeguard those ATMs. So combined for the branch as well as the ATM, the aspect of security is of great importance, because I will say one thing. People say what happens every time I hear an argument is put forward that money is insured. I admit money is insured. Your P&L balance sheet is probably safeguarded in a bit of way, but a miscreant who gets your 10 lakh rupees, yesterday he was having a country-made pistol, today he acquires an AK-47 and he is a bigger threat. So as a social responsibility, I would say the security has a different set of angles. Thank you very much. With that, I finish.
Thank you, Captain Joshi. Captain Joshi has touched upon the aspects of security of branch and ATMs. Now we have with us Brigadier Kurian, who will be retiring second time this month. Earlier he was in army. Despite that, he is retiring after a couple of days. He has come for our seminar. And he has very rich experience behind him. I would request him to cover the challenges in the implementation of security, physical security.
Good evening, sir. The advisor to RBI said, I would be hanging up my boots on Monday, and this happens to be one of my last official engagements. So I would hold this near to my heart for a long time to come. After 31 years in the military intelligence, I have completed about 7 years as the head of security of State Bank. And what I need to say as of now is that as far as the security is concerned in the banks, it is a major threat and it's going to keep increasing. As regards the State Bank as such, what I would say is we've got almost 2,000 current, and with the merger of the associates around the corner, another 700 odd would be coming. And as regards the branch network is concerned, it's about 17,200 as of now, and another about 7,500 now coming. It's going to total up almost 24,000 plus branches. And ATMs would be crossing 60,000. That is a very mammoth scale for which we have to cater the security. That's a big challenge for the security team in the State Bank of India. And as far as we are concerned, we've sacrosanct that manpower guarding is no more going to be of any use. So we have been trying to migrate to electronic security. We tried our hand at it. We have all heard about the remote surveillance through CMS, that is Central Monitoring Stations. We did try our hand at it. We did a detailed proof of concept and pilot testing. Unfortunately, it did not work. Though we had about 8 to 10 vendors working with us, during this pilot testing, none of them could rise to the occasion. None of them would qualify. And as such, we had to shelve the entire idea of going in for it. This industry definitely needs to mature more. We need to get fresher players, and we need to go in for it sooner than later, because manpower guarding has got its too much of problems and too much of constraints. So this is definitely the way forward, for which I hope in the near future we have more vendors and more players, more international players, I hope, would be coming into this. As regards CCTV is concerned, Mr. Goradi has been talking about it. In the State Bank, at least in the last 3 years, we are 100% CCTV compliant. And when the instructions came from the government and RBI about preserving the CCTV footage for those 50 days, we had no problem, and we are on the job, and it's almost complete as of now. As regards the challenges, the biggest manpower related challenge that I faced in implementing security in State Bank is the lack of security consciousness amongst the staff. Especially at the branch level, however much you might try to tell him how important security is, it's all, I should say, left to Bhagavan Parose. The CCTV systems are there, the alarm systems are there, the fire alarm systems are there. More often than not, they are not working, they are unserviceable, they are lacking annual maintenance. And this is one of the biggest challenges that I am facing. We are trying to drill it into the people doing the various training courses that we have in our learning centers, that this is a point to be not taken that lightly. Another very important point is the security during remittance. As you are aware, cash is most vulnerable during the period of remittance. That is when it moves from place A to place B. In spite of all the movement that had to take place in the recent demonetization exercise, we are happy that the banking industry can really be proud of that. There's been no major challenge. There's no major losses. However, we really cannot take that to be the future. We need to put our brains together to see how best we can ensure the safety of the cash that is in remittance. As regards other security, I would leave it to others to take it on. Thank you.
Thank you, Brigadier Kurin. I am sure that his views, whatever he has expressed, all will agree with that. Now, after that, we move to Captain Patni. Captain Patni, he is expert in his field, as you all are aware. So he will try to analyze the resource equilibrium vis-a-vis what are the risk available and what are the resources available. So he would try to cover those points. Mr. Captain Patni.
Thank you, sir. Respected moderator, Mr. Raghuvanshi, the eminent panelists, this august gathering sitting in front of me. Well, the topic for the evening is physical security, causes of concern that we are facing in the banking and financial sector. I have been a hands-on security man for the last 29 years with Bank of India, and I'm the Chief Security Officer of Bank of India for the last 1 year. And let me tell you that during an informal discussion that we were having before the start of this particular debate, I made a mention of one thing, that Indians by nature, by their basic instincts, they do not have in their DNA the concept of security. We are not security conscious. Security has never been our priority, be it at a place of work or be it at our homes. We have never attached that kind of premium to security that we are supposed to be doing. There have been plenty of challenges in the banking industry as far as security is concerned. But I would like to touch it in a little more structured manner, in the sense that we have certain risk classifications of our bank branches. We have classified our branches under the high risk category, normal risk category, low risk category, the currency chest in various categories like AA, A, B and C. Indian Bank Association and Reserve Bank of India have come out with a very beautiful document by way of which we undertake the categorization of the risk classification of branches. Now comes, once we decide that, say, BKC branch is a high risk branch, Goregaon East branch is a normal risk branch, Vashi is a low risk branch. So there are certain templates which are set, which are supposed to be complied with as far as the security provisioning is done. Security provisioning in terms of manpower, security provisioning in terms of the security gadgets, their use, their functionality, and the basic, the end user of all these gadgets are the branch managers, the banking staff, the cashiers who are sitting in the branches. Because the security personnel are sitting in the controlling offices. I am not very comfortable in admitting one thing, that security has an apathetic attitude as far as the bankers are concerned. Because there are certain, interlinked things, such as, paucity of staff members in the branches. We are not able to service our customers, render them proper customer service over the counters. So security kind of takes a backseat. Now we talk about the fire alarm systems that we have, the burglar alarm systems, the CCTVs. We may be having an 8-channel or a 16-channel CCTV system installed in our branches or the currency chest. As per the RBI guidelines, we are supposed to be holding 90 days footage. Now during the demonetization drive, the instructions from the DFS were that each branch and currency chest should preserve 90 days of recording. Recording for the entire period, that was 50 days of the demonetization period, followed by a fresh instruction that this will continue for the month of January also. So all bankers, Bank of India was, I think, one of the first banks that we took a call that we'll take out the old hard disk drives from our DVRs, preserve them with all possible relevant details as far as the DVRs are concerned, and install new hard disk drives. But to our horror, when the entire thing was, we were undergoing the entire thing, we came to know that there were branches which had only 47 or 48 days of recording with them. There were certain cases where we found that the DVRs were switched off. I mean, were we waiting for the demonetization drive to commence to know whether the systems which are installed pan-India in 100% of the branches are actually in the functional state or not? And even if they are, who is going to look into that footage of that CCTV system? If you decide to go through that footage, I mean, it will take you as many days as it took you to record that footage. So you could be spending maybe 2 months or 3 months to go through that footage to know if something wrong has gone. We have in our midst someone who has been advocating for the last couple of years regarding some certain smart solutions which are available, where we can, zero down to that required time, day, and anything, and even happening, so that we can catch it immediately. What I want to say is that banks are prepared to spend money as far as purchase of equipment is concerned, but the challenges that we are facing on the ground level is that people at large, the staff, they are not alive or conscious or sensitive enough to realize one thing, that safety and security is of their should be of their prime concern. Because I am always of this belief that you will be able to do your business only if you are in a good state of well-being. If you are not in a state of well-being, you will not be able to do your business. We are trying to sell the idea of security, being professional security people that we are from the ex-service background, but it is a very onerous task. But I am sure over a period of time, we will be able to grill into the minds of people that security should always remain their primary concern. And I hope that in times to come, people are a little more conscious about this as a subject. And probably this is the third time running that I would be telling that just as we have this moral science as a subject, which I used to read, when I was in my school in the primary classes, I think we must introduce security as a subject right from the school, in the school or college curriculum itself, so that that sense of security consciousness comes in. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain Patni. Now, we were talking about technology. Some speakers have spoken about CCTV and about the storage. Now, we have Captain Ajit Kulkarni with us. I would request him whether there is any need to have the central monitoring system, and if so, how best it can be used. Captain Kulkarni.
Thank you, sir. Hello. Yeah. So thank you so much, and good evening, everybody. I'll generally touch upon certain points as discussed by my other panel members, rather than giving some other thoughts about my own. This is the second time that I'll be, installing a CMS in the bank as such. The first being the Axis Bank, and now with IDFC Bank. So I've generally seen what CMS is all about. And one thing that I've realized is, instead of, picking up a solution and then trying to fit my problem around it, I should be first trying to see what my problem is, and then try to find a solution for that. So, which generally does not happen in most of the cases. Coming to the serviceability part of the existing equipment in the branches, or maybe even the new equipment that we are going to put up, like Captain Joshi was saying, if we have a CMS, the CMS is actually capable of pinging all the equipment on a real-time basis and giving you a real-time update whether the equipment is working or no, whether the DVR is actually recording or no. I would not have to depend on the branch heads or the operation head to find that out for me. The branch heads are left to their own businesses. Do we have to have CMS? Definitely we have to have CMS. That's the way forward. We have to go on ahead with the new age technology, which is actually going to help us. Helping us in what way? Because I also heard somebody else saying that, some time back, the CMS setup actually in the POC mode did not work properly or it failed. Yeah, fine. I mean, it was failing about a couple of years back. It was not giving good results. But times have really changed now. The technology is really catching up very fast. And what I'd like to say here is the thought process behind having a CMS has also changed. Instead of continuous monitoring of all these CCTV cameras, getting continuous feed on the internet, and having a really big broadband connection for all that, all you need to do is have a CMS which is just going to give you incidence-based reporting. So if something really does go wrong, only then you're going to get that message, that ping, and you can really work upon that. Better technologies, yes, and it's not only about having security solutions for CMS. CMS can be used for a lot many other things. Generally, what happens is in the banks or any of the organizations, like sir was saying, security is the last priority. That is because even we are looking only at security solutions. Why not be a business enabler rather than being a service provider? Why can't we go ahead and say, okay, my CMS will be able to actually help you in energy management, space management, maybe something else like asset management, remote audits. There's so many things which are possible only with the CMS setup. You don't have to change anything. It's already inbuilt. It's not staff dependent. Everything can be pulled at a central location. Possibly for banks like SBI, when there is so much at stake, we can have CMSs at regional levels, maybe 10, 15 or whatever. So it's going to reduce your dependency on one centralized location per se. In fact, security as a priority, like sir was saying, we need to discipline the people through training. However, if we have CMS, we can have a discrete watch on what is happening in the branches, and we can also, time and again keep reminding them as to what is happening. My friend Gautam here has also mentioned about CCTV audits to be conducted. And that's a wonderful thing which can go along with CMS in saying, okay, I have the CMS setup, I can watch what you're doing in the branches without you getting to know. I'm auditing what you're doing, and I'll be able to tell you where you're going wrong or what needs to be set right at the correct moment. So there's so many things which we can keep talking about CMS part. The other thing what I'd like to briefly mention here is about the manpower and the compliance part on the manpower. Now what is happening is, first of all, we've been having so many incidences of armed guards in the branches, firing at somebody willfully or otherwise, property being damaged, your the staff getting hurt, somebody getting killed. But I've never heard about an instance where an armed guard is actually fighting off the robbers and killing them. Unfortunately, that's the sad part of it. And most of the times, it's the armed guard who is targeted first when anybody comes in to loot the branch. Secondly, the branch is insured. For me, the biggest asset that I have in the branch is my manpower, my human resource. The second most important thing that I have in any of the bank setup is basically the data rather than the cash. Cash is insured, but what happens to the data? What happens to the KYC documents? What happens to, I don't know, it's big data management. It's not even data as such. So that is where I should be focusing more on to. Compliance again, because of if we have increasing manpower and with the increasing costs, compliance is also an issue. PF भरा है कि नहीं भरा है, gratuity हुआ नहीं हुआ है, bonus दिया कि नहीं दिया है, and so on and so forth, which is absolutely reduced because of the CMS part. I don't really have to depend on more number of guards. Yes, I'll have to have guards. I'm not saying no to that, but the dependency can be reduced to quite a large extent. Training, obviously, we need to do that. And lastly, sir was also talking about cash on wheels, cash in transit. Again, CMS can come to the rescue for at least some part of it. We can have geo-tagging, we can have geo-fencing on the vehicles. at least we'll be able to tell where the vehicle is and what is happening to it real time. So all in all, I personally believe CMS is here to stay, and it's a good thing. It's a wonderful thing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Captain Ajit. Now we have been talking about physical security. You know, the technological advancement are changing every day. And nowadays information technology is another very important field as far as security is concerned. So there is a need to have the interface of the two, physical security and IT. Now we have with us Shri Som Gangopadhyay. I would request him to touch upon and enlighten us about the physical security and IT interface.
Thank you, Mr. Raghuvanshi, and the respected panelists and the august gathering here. It is a little overwhelming to sit in between very august police head of the state and all the retired army men. You feel little aura. But that's probably the start of the security. As security is an ever-evolving subject. Very interestingly, if my grandmother was leaving home, she was happy to provide enough security to ensure that she has locked all the doors. That was enough, good enough security for her. When my mother left home, for her it was important to switch off all the electrical gadget, especially the refrigerator, the geyser, along with locking the doors. My wife, when she goes out, she has to ensure that she has locked the door. Then she has also switched off all the electrical appliances and probably some miniature circuit breaker, MCBs, if that is available in the hand. And then on top of that, she has to remember to switch off the Wi-Fi. You know, it's an ever-evolving subject. Security, all about security. When my daughter or daughter-in-law, I don't have a daughter, so probably a daughter-in-law, she will come, she will probably, in tomorrow's world, will switch off the virtual network system that is running the home. So that is how it is evolving. Since it is evolving, and you know, we very easily fall prey to a new technology, a disruptive technology, and yes, we got the solution. This is the miracle for all the diseases that is there. So there is no miracle. You still have to lock the door. You still have to switch on the electrical appliances. You have, in addition, you have to now put, the security is ever evolving. So I agree with Captain Patni that it must be taught right from childhood, right from the school, to sense of belonging. But interestingly, from physical security part, physical security is in different domain, but my domain or our, as an organization, our domain is providing security to secures. Example, in a bank, when we have a very CCTV system, an alarm system, and a fire alarm system, or burglar and fire alarm system, and nowhere a burglar or a robber, whether it's a daylight operation or a night, they come to take the chairs away. They don't come to take the tables away. They don't come to vandalize the branch. They actually come straight, targeted to the safe where the cash is there. They target the vault where there is locker and they can take the gold out of that. That is very clear. They come with that purpose. And interestingly, current solutions, most solutions that is available there is essentially passive security. So depending on the risk assessment that Captain Patni was mentioning, there are high risk branches, there are low risk branches or normal risk branches. Different classification of products are being placed there. But they only offer passive security. If time is available, and that is why many such things happen. Many of you may know, and I see bankers among the crowd, they all know it, that the burglaries, the robberies, they keep on happening. Now, if we can use a little bit of IT interface into that mechanical product which is only providing passive security, probably a little bit of active deterrence we can provide. It may not be sufficient from tomorrow, another 10 years. It has to evolve again. But at this moment, we can take one step forward. In the way that we put a safe and we put a miniaturized CCTV system or an alarm control system or a monitoring system inside the safe or the vault. So what happens when somebody attacks it? And since it is inside, so you have to break it. Whether it is a strong room, you have to break in, or you have a safe, you have to break through. Only you can get. And if it is controlled from inside the safe, then it is much more stronger in terms of, and the same as Major Kulkarni was referring, then the same CMS system can be used. Yes, the safe is attacked. The safe is talking to the control system saying, please help me, I am under attack. The vault is saying, I am under attack, please help me. That is probably a step forward. This is not a new technology. What I am saying, I am marrying the physical security the same way my grandmother and my mother, in addition to the lock, I am saying you put the electrical appliances off. Because I put the electrical appliances off, I cannot forget to lock my door. Even now, my wife, if she has to switch off the Wi-Fi, she has to remember to switch off the electrical gadget and she has to remember to lock the door. So all three are necessary. I'm just saying we just add it on top of it to make it much more secure. And I little bit disagree with Major Kulkarni on this, that the banks, especially the banks or the jewelers, people who are in the business of secures, majorly banks, they are in the business of trust. Banks are hardly into business of cash or economy. Banks are in business of trust because people take loan from them, people repay them, people put their savings into them, people put their entire life's earning into them. So when something happens, it breaches the trust. Money is always secured by insurance. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gangopadhyay. Now, house is open for any questioning. Please. Please identify yourself so that it will be useful for us also. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. My name is Captain Kannan. I'm ex-CSO Central Bank of India. Now I am connected with Godrej as their advisor for Godrej Security Solutions. I have three questions. The questions are sharp and short. It's not going to be a lecture. My first question is that there have been two eras of crimes in the bank, if you actually see. One has been in the year 80-81, where the concept of security came into the banks. And if you see the crime graph now, in the last 60 days, it has been almost equivalent to what happened in the year 80-81. That is the state of crime as of date. So taking that into consideration, and the very fact that there have been a number of crimes which have really put bank into reputational loss because of burglary attacks on safe deposit vaults and gold. How are the banks poised to treat this? That is my first question. Second question is regarding the payment banks which are coming into the country. The license have already been given to them. The payment banks have decided they are not going to have a large security infrastructure. They are going to use the infrastructure of the public sector banks and others who have this facility. So how are the public sector banks poised to help them out in terms of vaulting, sorting of currency, and movement of cash? And the third question is regarding the electronic surveillance, which I think one of the elite speakers here during the earlier one of the conferences, he said, the e-surveillance which we have in ATMs and all the banks, that have almost failed because the service providers have not been able to do a good job. What is the takeaway on that? These are my three questions. Anybody can take it on.
Anybody would like to respond from the bank?
So with your permission.
Please.
Kannan sir, I'll start off in the reverse order. Lastly, you spoke about the e-surveillance aspect. I think a lot of banks, including Bank of India, are of the view that e-surveillance is probably the only answer to maintain a safe environment of security in our branches. Now, when we talk about e-surveillance, basically what we want to establish is that whatever security gadgetry that is installed in the branches, be it burglar alarms or fire alarms or the CCTV systems, their health status in real time is available at the central monitoring station, so that I, as the Chief Security Officer of Bank of India, know that the gadgets which are installed in my 5,200 branches spread all over the country are in a proper state of working worthiness. And in case any gadget goes out of order, I get a pop-up or a ping on the screen which is available in the CMS, and the CMS operator immediately gets in touch with the system integrator or the service provider and tells him that the gadget is out of order, you kindly rectify it immediately. That is one. And two, if in case any incident happens, maybe a break-in during the night hours, a burglary attempt takes place, the gadgets which should have relevant night mode sensors should get activated, following which the CMS should be alerted and he sets in motion whatever the systems and processes are put in place. So this is, as far as the e-surveillance is concerned, I may tell you that we had come to the last step as far as implementation of e-surveillance in 3,000 ATMs of Bank of India branches was concerned. At the very last step, we hit a roadblock because we were told that we will keep it on the back burner for some time. Frankly speaking, I do not know what was the thought behind this. I get a feeling it had probably something to do with maybe the impending merger of the banks. Probably. I mean, this is what I get in my mind. But as a CSO, I'm convinced that e-surveillance is probably the answer, especially during the night hours, that is the off-banking hours, to ensure that the security systems are totally in place. Coming to your middle point, which was about the payment banks. Well, yes, Paytms and many other private operators who have been given the licenses by the banks, they obviously will not be having brick and mortar structures to operate. They will be essentially using our own systems. The systems, the Finacle system that Bank of India is using, or whatever are the systems on which our core banking solutions are available, they will use our systems. Well, I'm afraid, sir, I will not be able to respond to that for the simple reason that this would come under the domain of our information security department, because as a CSO, we are largely handling the physical security aspects. Maybe somebody from the panel may like to answer that point of yours. And as far as the first part was concerned, the first question was regarding the physical security aspects. I can tell you one thing, that banks are having sufficient physical security measures in place by way of manpower, by way of security gadgets. I can tell you about my bank. It is 100% compliant as far as the security gadgets are concerned. All 5,200 branches have CCTV systems. All 5,200 branches have fire alarm systems, burglar alarm systems, access control measures, biometric systems in the currency chest, time locks, attendance management system for the offices. We have everything in place, but as they say, security can never be foolproof. Somebody can always pick a hole in the security setup that we have, but our effort as security people is that we are trying to plug all possible loopholes.
Yeah,
thank you, sir.
Before you take on my further answer, I have some question related to the OEMs. See, when we provide a type of safe or a strong room or whatever you call it, like Captain Patni rightly put it, in terms of classification, you take the vulnerability and the threat perception into consideration when you provide that. And this question probably Raghuvanshi Saab may be able to take it on. In our country, the response factor has been the worst thing, we can say that. In foreign countries, they go in for a lower class of safes or lower class of strong room door, because once an alert comes, there is a policeman standing with a response force in another 5 minutes. But in our country, that is not happening. The response time is very high. So your classification, your upgradation of the products has to also to be much high. What is your take on that as an OEM of this equipment?
Absolutely. If I take example of Bank of India and your own bank, Captain Kannan, in the last, 4 or 5 years, we have ascertained these high-risk areas and we have upgraded this product onto current standard. And that is why I came up to the point that a step ahead, that if the response is actually poor, can we increase the shout from the safes which is dumb, from the strong room, save me, so much so that the police station gets a call, so the branch gets a call, the head office gets a call, and everybody concerned gets a call. Please save me. So one step ahead, just to be one step ahead of it. That is our given.
Just 1 minute.
Yeah.
Sorry. Sir, responding to your first question, and of course answering to Mr. Soma as well. Okay, all the branches, most of the branches I'll say, at least for our branches we'll say all the branches, but otherwise most of the branches, they have got all the equipment in place, so that is not an issue. However, coming back to the point of trust of customers on the bank is what you were talking of. Can you really ensure that there is not going to be a single incident if you have guards posted in the branches?
Not
You cannot,
Yep.
right? What happens to the trust factor in that case? We really don't know, right? So, as far as the risk is concerned, it's on the same platter. So, if it is on the same platter, what is the problem of going in for a technology rather than only the human dependency? That is point number one. Point number two, what if I have guards who goes to sleep? What happens then? What if the guards are conniving with the looters? What happens then? What kind of trust are we speaking about here? Right? And lastly, if in case I have to actually ensure that nothing happens in the premise, I can turn any premise into Fort Knox. Do we have the cost for that? Is that my risk assessment?
Captain
What is
Ajit,
my risk
no,
appetite?
It's red is blinking, so.
One question, sir.
Okay, you may ask.
Just one quick question. First of all, your new look with the beard and so on is great. I could not almost recognize you. Second, our best wishes to Brigadier Kurian for such a fantastic innings. And I wish you, on behalf of this August gathering, that you may continue to grow and give your experience to the rest of the industry. General common comment, actually. The answer will lie in a good marriage of technologies. You will never have a single silver bullet. So Mr. Gangopadhyay had a fantastic idea that put that camera within the safe. But let me tell you one thing, that no crook, and I'm saying it with ex-DG here, that no crook will commit a crime without a recce. And no CMS will be able to discover a recce. Because all the gold that has been recently stolen in the last 1 month, they all had fancy CMS. They all had fancy trigger systems. And please look at CCTV system not just for security. It is capturing huge amount of information which is being wasted. For the RBI and the Income Tax Department, what they want to look for is who came with large bags. For Captain Patni, one of his problems is that are his customers being attended? The camera is watching. Are we seeing what the camera saw? That is my question. That is auditing.
Thank you very much. I'll take only 2 minutes because I could not get opportunity to speak. So, one is that I wanted to be moderator. You know, moderator of two types. One is that you have seen times now, Arnab Goswami. He will not allow anybody to speak. He will ask and then reply himself. I try to be the moderator of Doordarshan. Moderator hardly speaks, only others speak, if you have seen. So I think I have succeeded in my mission. Since based on my experience as a police officer of 35 years and investigator of some of the important cases, I just want to make 2-3 points which are relevant, I think so, for our purpose. One is that for any crime to be committed, whether it is a theft, it is a chain snatching, it is the bomb blast, it is the bank robbery, criminal would first analyze the risk. He would identify the target, analyze the risk, and will decide after having conducted the full rehearsal. Large number of cases have not been reported, incidents have not been committed just because of 3 things. One, the person was standing there. Whosoever he may be, he was a person. You may call it a security man, he may call it a houseman, he may call it a society man. Secondly, whenever anything happens, first thing is that the criminal try to see his escape. And many a times the incidents have been aborted. You will be surprised that even on 26/11/2008 incident, 2 places were removed by the perpetrator just merely because they found the armed man standing on those targets. Targets, you know, I don't want to name. Third, the challenges have to be analyzed, studied, and our response has to be according to that. Now, how in last 10 years things have changed. You have seen your mobile, how the mobile came, how the communication came. We as a police officer, I'm referring to, in 2008, we came for the first time that whatever they were communicating with the Pakistan, that was through VoIP. We have been monitoring the mobile call, this and that we just could not, unless they were actually monitoring. And they were talking. It took about 6 months for us to know actually where actually it has originated from. Therefore, technology is improving. Our response has to improve. So for that, I can say that new generation offenders use technology. We have to move with the technology. Number 2, in coming time, warfare will be between man and machine or computer. Our response has to be according. And third, cyber war is going to bypass all other wars. Now we are maybe government policy or banks policy, cashless. But please remember, be ready. Unless you take the steps now, that the cyber crime is going to be many fold, and is our investigating and the judicial machinery ready for those cases. And radical advancement in hardware and software is taking place. When say radical advancement means the negative aspect of all the technology that is coming up, and killer robots are being made. Okay, robot never get tired, is generally not killed. You are having all the system at place. If the robot is put to it, he will break all your barriers and will enter into it. And you, in your own office, you take what you are using, refrigerator, you are using all kinds of modern gadgets. The technology, the bad guy, the challengers will be using that technology to get into your system, and these kinds of crimes are going to increase. Therefore, in my view, based on last 35 years experience, not as RBI man, because RBI I'm just the advisor, that too part-time. I participated, I came in this seminar being thinking that I have been called as being the ex-cop. But RBI, bank working, RBI working, I am not so aware. But the synergy of physical security and technology has to be there. And unfortunately, it is only after 9/11 that the senior management worldwide realized the importance of security. How the security men are being treated in your organization, how the security in your own management system, at what level you are working, what is your word to the management, at the top management, giving some weight to your this thing. So there is a need to have the meeting point between experts of information technology and experts of physical security. With these words, I think all of you have listened what every expert say. I don't think I need to summarize that, but I just wanted to say these few words. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everybody, for that engaging session. And with that, I'm going to request our moderator, Mr. K.P. Raghuvanshi, to please hand over mementos to all our panelists.